Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome. We are now live on Facebook and on Zoom. We do have a couple of minutes, so make sure to tell all your educator friends to make sure to join us at 6 p.m. We are live on Facebook and we will be starting promptly at 6 p.m. So in the meantime, you all know we want to hear where you are from. So please tell us if you're viewing us from Trinidad and Tobago, where in Trinidad and Tobago you're viewing us from. And if you are not from Trinidad and Tobago, of course, please do tell us which country you're viewing us from. So we are very excited to have all of you with us, and we look forward to a very productive session today. And as I mentioned, we will be starting promptly at 6. So with us, we do have Maya and Chanel from Tentacool as well. So they will be helping me out when we have all those not so tough questions at the end, right? But they will be helping me in this session. So we are very excited to have all of you. So welcome. So we're going to check our chat and just we can see who we have online with us. And as I mentioned, we'll be starting promptly at 6. So Maya and Chanel, you all want to say hello?
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you for attending. We are really glad to have everyone here with us. On behalf of Tentacool and Flo, all right? We're really excited. We have some people here from Tobago with us, Leanne.
Yes, wonderful. Welcome. Hi, from Shogunas. We have persons from Tobago. Welcome, welcome. Always a pleasure. Oh, we have someone else from Tobago. Hi, Samantha. Welcome. I'm seeing some familiar names and some new persons. Welcome. We are very, very happy to have all of you with us. All right, we're going to start in 4 minutes. Hi, from Shogunas. All right, as we let persons in with us. Just checking the Facebook Live to see where we have persons from. We have persons from Dabity. Hi, Solange. Hi, Natasha. Hi, Anika. Welcome from San Rafael, from Point Fortin. So it seems we have a good representation from all over Trinidad and Tobago. So that is absolutely wonderful. Right, so good afternoon, Colleen. Hi, Trisha. Hi, Terrence. Welcome from City Valley. Welcome. Hi, Denise. Excellent. All right. From San Juan. So I think we can safely say we have persons from every area from Trinidad and Tobago. And of course, we are very, very happy to have all of you. So we start promptly at 6 p.m. So in the meantime, of course, we would love for you all to chat and just tell us a little bit about what y'all are experiencing, you know, how y'all are feeling about school reopening in September. We can have some conversation while we wait to start. We have 2 more minutes. So, you know, how are you feeling? Are you ready for September? Am I going to get an enthusiastic yes, or maybe not so much? Right? I mean, we know how this last year has been. Oh, we have persons from Guyana as well and Jamaica with us. Welcome. We are very happy to have you. So we have a nice spread from the Caribbean. Excellent. All right, so in 2 minutes, we are going to start. In the meantime, of course, as always, you can share with us, you know, we are going to be talking a little bit about school and what is going to happen come September, what we can expect. And of course, I do hope that by the end of the session, you will leave with at least one takeaway that you can go back into your classroom and use for September. So it is now 5:59. So ladies, I think we are going to officially begin. So I'm just going to All right, so we're going to start. So good afternoon, 21st century educators. Welcome and thank you very much for choosing to spend an hour with us. We are very happy that you are here with us, and we would like to take this opportunity to thank Flow and Pinnacle for continuing to support educators and education by having these sessions, because we really do need to support our educators during this trying time. We know that the last year has been a little difficult, but we do also want to say thank you to all our educators who have really risen to the occasion and have done a tremendous job. So we thank you as well, educators. So I'm just going to share my presentation. So as we get ready, and of course, I'm going to just talk a little bit about what we are doing today. All right. So today we are going to be chatting a little bit about mastering the blend with Pinnacle.com. And before we get started, of course, we just want to remind you of a couple of things. We will have a question and answer segment at the end of the session, and you can place your questions or comments in the Zoom or Facebook chat. We do have persons monitoring, and they will be collating those questions for us. So feel free to go ahead and put your comments and your questions in Facebook or on Zoom. Also, we want to tell you some great news. There will be 5 Maxi Store vouchers given away today, and all you have to do, you have to be registered on Pinnacle.com. So if you are not registered yet, I'm going to actually show you how to get registered. And then at the end, complete your feedback form where you can book a virtual school tour or demonstration. So very easy to win one of those 5 Maxi Store vouchers. All right. And those feedback forms will be placed both on Facebook as well as in the Zoom chat. So just look out for it. It will come at the end of the session. And we do ask you that if you are in the Zoom room, to please keep your videos off and keep your microphones muted, just so we can have a nice flow today. Right? So let's get ready. So today we want to look at how teachers can leverage Pinnacle, as I mentioned, in their classroom. And as we prepare for the reopening of school, of course, there has been a lot of conversation about what September is going to look like, what October is going to look like, because of the uncertainty of the pandemic. And having been in a pandemic for now over a year, schools and teachers are looking ahead and preparing for a return to school, right? Whatever that return is and wherever that return may be. What will this school year look like? You know, is it face-to-face? Is it going to be blended? Is it going to be completely virtual? And how do we now plan for all of these scenarios? So by now, our Minister of Education has announced that school is going to be virtual when we restart, but the hope is that at some point in time, we are going to have some sort of face-to-face interaction. So how do we actually plan for all of these situations without pulling out all the hair out of our heads, right? And so today I want to talk a little bit about blended learning. And I want to define it so that it can help you to perhaps adapt your classroom for numerous possibilities. And by no means is it going to be a magic wand to fix all your issues, because, you know, it reminded me as I attended a session put on by Caribbean Visionary Educators. Dr. Gertrude Schott said, do not expect perfect solutions from imperfect conditions. And the reality is that we are still in a pandemic. However, I do hope that it helps to generate some ideas as to how you can navigate this new learning landscape with the assistance of Pinnacle.com. But before we actually dive into what blended learning is, I would just like to take this opportunity to show you how easy it is to get registered and to get started with Pinnacle.com. For those of you who may be new users or you may need a refresher, I'm going to walk you through how you can get registered on Pinnacle.com. Very easy process. So of course, you type in pennacool.com. It will take you to their landing page where you click register, and then you register as a teacher and you input your email twice, and that's it. You will then be sent a confirmation email which would verify that you indeed wanted to be registered in pennacool.com. And once you confirm that, information will be sent and you will be registered. Easy peasy. Once you are registered, you will put in your credentials. You can now sign in. And when you click sign in, you will land on the landing page where you can now access all of Pennacool's resources. So to register your class, you will click class registration and you will see add class. You click on that add class, you put in the relevant information, very intuitive, just follow all the instructions, and then you click save. Then you will be able to add students to your class. However, if your school already uses pennacool.com and that class is already in the system, they can actually simply be promoted to you without having to actually add them from the beginning. So the process is very simple. You literally follow the instructions and your class is registered. Now, if for any reason you do have issues registering your class, you can contact a member of pennacool.com and they will walk you through the process, and I will share their information at the end of the session. But I am telling you, the process is extremely simple. So now you're probably saying, okay, so I have registered with Pennacool. I now have access to all of the wonderful stuff they have on their website. But it's September, and what am I now expected to do? Because everyone is still talking about all these terms for remote learning. I'm pretty sure our vocabulary has expanded. We've heard asynchronous, we've heard synchronous, we've heard blended, we've heard hybrid. But do we actually understand what these terms mean? So I wanted to start off by defining what blended learning actually means. And I went to one of the experts, well-known experts in this area, and that is Dr. Kathleen Tucker. Some of you may have heard about her. And she defined blended learning as active engaged learning online combined with active engaged learning offline or face-to-face. And she went on to say that the different models give students different degrees of control over their time, place, pace, and or path. And I just want to spend a little time breaking down this definition for us. I highlighted some keywords, active and engaged, because for some reason, I've heard teachers talk about the fact that their online lessons are not active, they're not engaged, students are not responsive, where they're not so sure if students are actually engaged in learning. And I want to talk about how we can help our students to have an active engaged learning, whether they are online or whether they are offline. The other thing that I want to talk about is different models. That term blended learning has been bouncing around as though it's this one size fits all. And I really want to stress here that there are at least 12 different types of blended learning models. And so it's very important when we're talking about blended learning, we think about the one that is going to fit our context. And that means I'm not talking about Trinidad and Tobago's context. I'm talking about your context in your school, in your classroom. So let's dig a little deeper into what blended learning is. So there are a couple of core elements, no matter what the model of blended learning. And that would be that it consists of classroom-based activities, which would be like the face-to-face setting, which we are accustomed to, or in the case of virtual setting, the synchronous classroom, which is when we're online. Like right now, we are synchronous, right? You can ask me questions, I can respond immediately. The other element of a blended learning setting would be that you must have online learning materials. And the third element is that you would have independent studies, which can be online or it can be in a hard copy. And this is very important. So stay with me, all right? Because we're going to be talking about these things. Now, built into the online and the independent study you will allow your students to have some level of flexibility. For example, in that section, you can assign different questions. You can, so we're talking about differentiation, right? Something that we love to hear, but it sometimes seems so difficult to do. You might allow them to complete the exercise at different times. And of course, they may have the option of where they do that exercise, whether it's in a home setting or whether it's in a school setting. And these are some of the researched benefits of blended learning. Because blended learning is both synchronous, where the teacher is present, and asynchronous, you basically get the best of both worlds. So with the asynchronous setting, whether it is face-to-face or the teacher is live online, you have the teacher present. And you cannot, no one can doubt that having a teacher present is vital for proper education to take place. You are able to get immediate feedback as a student because your teacher is present. You are able to get immediate explanation. And of course, in the synchronous setting, you have peer-to-peer interaction, and that is very important. So whether you're in a physical space, we know the value of peer-to-peer interaction, but online, it is also significant and probably even more so because the students now don't have that easy interaction as before when they were in a physical setting. However, the asynchronous setting, which would be when you set up your asynchronous lesson, you have your students who you give them step 1, 2, and 3, and you tell them this is what you have to do. It develops a level of independence in your students. And this independence is not based on whether the student is 16 and you're saying, well, they're more mature. This blended learning takes place as early as preschool once it's set up correctly. And you are developing independence in your children. It also allows for flexibility, sometimes where the face-to-face setting does not allow. So for example, if you have a student who, after the teacher explains, in the classroom you give an exercise, but then that student can't answer because maybe they needed to hear the explanation one more time, or maybe they needed to hear the explanation in a different way. However, in the asynchronous setting where they can go through the exercise for as long as they need to, it allows for that flexibility as well as the benefit of self-pacing. So you have students, let's talk about the realities of what is taking place now. We have some students who are sharing devices. They won't be able to complete the exercise at the same time as everybody else because maybe they have to wait until their parents get home with a phone, or maybe they have to share with their sibling who is doing exams and therefore they may need to wait. So the asynchronous allows us to pace as well, right? Allows the student to have that independence of pacing. So by now, I can hear all those questions. You're saying, oh, this blended learning stuff sounds great. It sounds like wonderful benefits. But can it actually work in my classroom? I mean, I'm thinking my class, if I have to go back out to school, my face-to-face class is too big for social distancing. So how am I going to actually even be thinking about blended learning? Can this work in my classroom? Has Ms. K actually been in my classroom? Well, yes, I have been, right? Because I'm a teacher as well. And how realistic is this method for 30 or 40 students? Because that is the reality of our classroom. Some of us have 30 students, some of us have 40 students. What about, I mentioned the fact that you have to have an online session. You have to have online learning materials. But it is difficult to find material which is online and culturally relevant. Because, we tend to find a lot of materials, but sometimes they aren't culturally relevant. And then the other question that pops up a lot, how do I actually know if my students who are at home are learning or engaged at all? When they don't turn on their cameras, sometimes they don't respond to me, right? And how do I motivate them if I'm not there physically? And these are real questions. I am sure that teachers are nodding their heads and saying, yes, these are the realities. So I do hope that by the end of the session, I would have been able to answer some of these questions and given you some real strategies that you can use to help answer some of these questions. So let's start with the easy one first, right? So this was the easy one. Where am I going to find all this material to use online? Now, primary school teachers, Pennacool.com has done a lot of the work for you, because about 12 years ago, they actually had foresight to create a platform, not just with questions, but also with tutorials and work examples. Now, the good thing is that you don't have to worry, because it's already aligned to Trinidad and Tobago's Ministry of Education curriculum in mathematics, language arts, VCCE, and science and conservation. And it caters for standards 1 to 5. And do you know that Pinnacle already has some short collated videos already for you based on topic? So if you were to go into Pinnacle, the video tutorials and resources, you actually see the topic, and they already found videos which are short, they are fun, and they're easy for students to be able to do on their own. And they're also in the process of getting locally teacher-created content. And I think that is fantastic, and I really want to take this opportunity to applaud Pinnacle for the work that they are doing. Because once teachers know they can go to a site and find material that is already relevant, it's already collated by topic, it saves you some work. And additionally, if we were to, for example, go into their math and English standards 4 to 5, I wanted to actually show you an example. If you were to go into their practice exercises, you would notice that it is actually laid out by indices. So you can click on the indices and you would actually get a full math and language arts indices. You can search by topic. And I wanted to actually go into a specific example, because this is going to be our blended lesson a little bit. If you click on nouns, you would see that it's already chunked. And for an effective online lesson, you want to have short objectives. And the good news is that you can literally copy it and place that link into any of the LMSs that you already use. It works with Google Classroom, it works with MS Teams, Schoology, etc. Additionally, your students, if they have any questions while they're doing these exercises and the tutorials may not help, they can actually email you as well. So it allows, so remember when we spoke about active engaged, you are seeing already how the students can actively engage in their lessons. And I'm going to give you a little hint. You can actually get real-time data, which we're going to be talking about shortly. So you don't have to worry about not knowing what your students are going to do. And SCA teachers, this one is for you. I don't know how many of you are aware, but now we have Sda Practice Test, where only the teacher has access to the answers. So not only can the students now do practice in terms of getting their language arts and math done, you now can actually assess them summatively by having access to these tests, and you release your answers when you are ready. So the students get their results when you are ready to give them. And one other thing, which I know I remember teachers asking for last year, teachers are now able to override computer corrections if necessary. So for example, if your student puts an extra space, or maybe they misspelled a word and you want to go into the system and override that answer, you can now do that. And so teachers, Pinnacle is listening to you, so continue sending in those suggestions, right? And this is really something that they want to now implement across the platform, where teachers can override the answers immediately rather than having to contact Pinnacle. You would be able to now do this in the SDA platform, and soon, hopefully, across the entire platform. So good news. So we are talking about finding locally aligned, relevant content, broken up into indices, broken up into topics, already chunked. So teachers, you have one less thing to do now, right? So you found your online material. But now, how do you actually use this in a remote setting? And one of the other questions that you're probably asking is, why am I going to be doing blended if we are home? Why do I want synchronous and asynchronous? Why don't I just come online and teach my students throughout the day and then give them homework? Well, just like blended learning has benefits for the students, there are benefits for the teacher. One, sitting online for an entire day is not healthy for you as a teacher. It's also not healthy for your students. Blended learning also, if done correctly, can create more engaged students. And it also gives you better information and feedback on the student work. It also allows you to do team teaching. And I'm going to talk a little bit about this specific model very shortly, how you can use team teaching to your benefit. You also get extended time with your students because in the model that I'm about to show you, you actually get to work with smaller groups, but not necessarily increase your efforts in terms of teaching. When you have the students who are more independent, because now they have to take responsibility for some of their work versus it being teacher-led, you also begin to develop more leaders in your classroom. And of course, I don't need to talk to you about having more leaders in your classroom, how that's a benefit to you as a teacher. You also get to focus on deeper learning. And this one is very key. You get to motivate sometimes those children who are very hard to reach, especially now that they're at home and can probably hide a little better than if they were in a classroom. So I want to talk about this model. And I want to ask anybody, have you all heard about this rotation station model? Now, this is not something that is new at all. This is not something that is, you're going to be hearing for the first time. But this rotation station model has become quite popular now because of COVID. And what it is, as the name suggests, is that you are going to have stations and you can have 2 or 3 stations. So in the example that I'm going to provide, I'm going to be talking about 3 stations. So the teacher-led station, the online station, and the offline station. And I'm going to be talking about it in terms of if you are online, completely virtual, and I'm also going to show you how you can take the same model if you had to go back to school and go in a face-to-face setting, still with social distancing in place. So you have 3 stations, and I'm just going to talk through each station a little bit. So you have your teacher-led station, and that's an obvious one. That is where you will have one group of students who are going to come to you, and you are going to teach, you're going to demonstrate, you are going to probably check work, right? In the online station, this is where you assign a task for the students to actually do. And in the offline station, this is where the student is now working independently. And at the end of what they have to do, they have to submit something to you. And I'm going to show you a practical example of how this works. So of course, you start off with, you have 3 groups. So this is just an example of how you can do it. So you have group 1 at 9 to 9:30. Group 1 is going to be on the computer doing the online work, doing their pen and pool exercises. At 9:30 to 10, that same group is going to be doing their offline exercises. And then at 10 to 10:30, that group is going to come and meet with you. Now, of course, you can change the time, right? It could be 15 minutes, it could be longer. But this is just an example, a snapshot of what blended learning in the rotation station model can look like. And we're actually going to do an example. So this is a sample lesson. So your objective is to identify proper and common nouns, right? So this is something that primary school teachers would do. You want your teacher students how to identify proper and common nouns. You have 30 students in your class, right? Now you are online, right? Because the Ministry of Education has said that we are virtual until. So in the virtual setting, you may have group 1 come from 9 to 9:20, and that group is going to meet with you. So you have 10 students that you are going to meet online with. And if you want, you can use your breakout rooms to put the other 20 students, or you can even have them come in at a assigned time. So you can decide which one works for you. During that 15 minutes, 20 minutes, you are going to provide the direct instruction. Now that direct instruction would be what you normally use, whether it's a video, whether it's a presentation, whether you're going to demonstrate what proper and common nouns are, whether you're going to explain and model it, or you're going to present a problem. So you might say, Tom likes cars. He likes Honda. And you might ask them, what is the difference? You might try to see what they know, see what they understand about proper and common nouns. You might even review completed work, so something they would have done before. And then you would also, in that teacher-led session, you can use data that you've gathered to see which students actually need additional assistance. Now you're working with 10 students versus the 30. So you have 10 students with you. While you have those 10 students with you, you now have another 10 students who can be in a breakout room if you use Zoom, or it can be, they can actually not be online with you at all, because you can actually give them an assignment that is in pennacool.com. Now you'll remember the nouns exercise that I showed you all earlier in pennacool.com. So you can assign that proper and common noun task on pennacool.com. You can assign a video which was already curated by pennacool.com. So even if they've never heard about proper and common nouns, you can give them a video to watch, and then you can assign them the proper and common noun task on pennacool.com. You give them a time limit to complete that task. Now, here's the real benefit of doing this thing online with pennacool.com. Although the students are not with you, you can monitor them real time. You know which students are doing their work, how many times they attempted a question, if they opened the assignment at all, if they opened it and just did not answer the question. All of that information is coming to you. And so when you are doing online work, you can easily be able to track what your students are doing. So although they are not with you, you can still monitor what they are actually doing. And if you wanted them to work in a breakout room, you can also ask students to collaborate. So you can actually assign them a particular exercise on Pennacool and say, let's have a discussion, and you all are going to come back and tell me what you're doing. So you can do many things in that where while students are online, it can be an independent exercise, but it can also be a collaborative exercise. And then while you have your teacher-led session, you have some students doing online work, and then you have some of your students, the other 10 students, doing offline. Now these students can be in a breakout room, or you may want them to actually be completely offline to give them a little rest from being on screen. Here you can assign them work from their textbook, or you can assign them work from the Pennacool workbook, because there is a printed version. And again, just like the online version, it's broken down into topics. So you would actually see nouns as one of the topics. You can assign them that work. And then you can ask them to take a picture and send it to you. Or you could even say when they come to that live session, you have a discussion with them. Because remember, I said, in the teacher-led model, you can review completed work as well. You can do offline choice boards in an offline setting, which is basically you give them 5 options and they work through those 5 options, within a particular framework, within a particular time, but not necessarily in the same order, or they may have choices and options. You can do experiments here, you can do projects here, etc. Now, why would you want to do this in the online setting? Well, you can see immediately if you're working with 10 students versus 30 students, you will be able to reach all of them much faster. You will also be able to see who's doing work, because it's harder to hide in a group of 10 versus a group of 30. Additionally, one of the key things with this I would suggest, though, is to, if you're going to be introducing a new concept, start with your weaker group of students in the teacher-led mode. Because your stronger students would most likely be able to go online and offline and handle themselves. Start with your weaker group of students in the teacher-led setting. So that is one of the tips that I would want to share with you. If you're going to do this, make sure to start with your weaker group of students in the teacher-led and then send them online and offline. So let's actually look at what I just spoke about, but in terms of the pictures, right? So remember I said your teacher-led session. So the teacher is teaching whatever you would normally say, you know, a proper noun is, demonstrate it. You might give them examples. You might solicit what they think it is. If you heard proper and common, what is, well, you know, you can have some fun with it, what you normally do in your classroom setting. So you're online and you're actually asking this information. And this is an example straight from the Pinnacle site where you would be online and you would notice it gives them immediate feedback. It also tells them if it's correct, and they can also send you an email if it's something they really are struggling with. And this is an example of the workbook, as I would have told you, and these workbooks are available in almost any store you can think of, right, including groceries. So you can get those workbooks, and you would notice that it's also separated into topics just like the online. Now, the next question that you may have for me is, so if I plan all this blended work for online, and then they decide to open school face-to-face, is it that I have to throw away all of my lesson plan? Well, good news, no, because it can also work in the face-to-face setting. And this is not something that teachers haven't done before. You would have had stations, right, set up in a face-to-face setting. But with the regular rotation model in a face-to-face setting, the students would have been the ones moving from station to station. However, with COVID in mind, we want to kind of limit some of those movements. And so we don't necessarily want the students to be the one moving. We want them to be rotating through the task versus rotating in the classroom. Now, you might have to get a little creative, and you, of course, would know what your space looks like, right? So you may have to remove, you know, the traditional furniture. You may now have to get a big mat so students can sit when they're doing their offline work. They can sit, still be socially distanced, but still have some kind of, they can still be collaborating. When students are coming to you in the teacher-led section, maybe you want to just get some chairs, you know, get rid of the desk. And for the online station, some schools may want to consider whether you have a computer room, or maybe if you're using tablets, you now have a cart where the tablets are now able to move from classroom to classroom, etc. So it will take some kind of, you know, creativity and thinking about your space, and it will require us to move away from the traditional setup of how our school buildings look, right? But you are doing the same thing. Face-to-face, you teach one group of students. Generally, if you're teaching a concept for the first time, remember you start with your weaker group of students, and you will teach them what proper and common nouns are. And then you will send your next group of students, you will send them to pennapool.com. They will go online, they're doing the work. Guess what? You are getting real-time data on your phone or a computer or a tablet. So you can actually monitor what those students are doing. And then with your offline students, you are sending them to their textbook or the Pinnacle workbook, or to complete a project, or to complete a drawing, etc., which of course they will submit to you at the end of their time. So I do hope that you're following in terms of how this blended learning now gives you the opportunity to reach your students because you're working with smaller groups. It allows your students to develop independence. It also allows you to differentiate, because remember, as I told you, with pennapool.com, you can assign the questions that are appropriate to your students' needs. And so even within a class of 30, all 30 students could be getting a different exercise. And one of the things that I like about pennapool.com is that they don't limit you to the class that the student is in. So if your students are in standard 5, but they need to go back to standard 3, you can assign exercises from the standard 3 as well. And one of the key things during this period, and in general, is that we need to leverage data. The blended learning is going to be very dependent on this. You must have data to be aware of how all of your groups are functioning. And when your students are online, you want to be able to track to see what they are doing. Now, Pinnacle already has a built-in tracking system for you, because Because sometimes I know as a teacher, you want to do all that tracking, you want to do all that analysis, but the reality is your day is filled with so much to do that sometimes this gets pushed to the side. But when your students are in Pennacool.com, you are getting immediate feedback. You are able to not only track what your class is doing, but you're able to track the individual students. You're able to see how many attempts the student made per question. You will notice this here. With an immediate glance, you can tell that question 10 posed some issues and question 11, because those were the two that students just did not do well in. But you may look at 13 and 14 and say, oh, well, they figured out a one out, so I'm not going to have to do that when I'm in the online session with them. Leveraging that data helps you to be able to determine what you need to focus on. And so this is something that I really want to put a plug in for teachers who are going to be using Pennacool.com or who already use Pennacool.com. Use the data to help you to determine what your students actually need. And as I mentioned, it tells you about the class progress, individual progress, gives you question analysis. It's a nice visual, easy data capture, because if you looked at it, you will see, I mean, the green, the red, the yellow, it tells you information from a glance. It tells you about the students' progress. It tells you about how engaged your students are. And one of the other key things, which again, teachers had asked for, it is downloadable and it is printable. So many benefits there. During this time, one of the other key things that we would have heard teachers say is that, you know, it's very difficult sometimes because, of course, now parents have had to adjust to a new role in terms of education. And parents have had to take a more substantive role because, of course, their children are home with them. And I really want to commend Pennacool and Flo for introducing this new parent portal, because the parent portal now allows for parents to monitor and to track what their child is doing in Pennacool.com. So teachers, you can now partner with your parents. Encourage your parents to sign up to log in with their Flow ID. That's all they need to do, log in with their Flow ID, and they will be able to get real-time data, just like you, on what their child is doing. And I know, teachers, this is a big one, right? Because we want to be able to say to parents, go and see what exercises your child did or did not do. Look and see how much time your child is spending. And the parent is able to get that real-time information. It's easy to understand, right? So this is an example of what it looks like. So they get a progress dashboard. They can tell which exercises have been assigned and have not been completed. They can tell which how well their child is doing in the math and language arts. They can tell how many times the exercise, which exercises have been attempted, and they will also be given the percentage. So this real-time data allows for parents not to have to say, well, you know, I didn't know that my child wasn't doing well. Every day, the parent can now actually go in and check to see what their child has been doing. And this helps teachers because you can now partner with your parents to work through, well, you know what? Can you go check to see what your child is doing? I'm assigning Pennacool exercises weekly, and I would like to work with you so that we can produce the best for that child. So the parent portal now allows for parents to track, and it allows for us now to partner with those parents as teachers. All right. So I want to talk now about another question that I would hear teachers asking. How do we actually engage our students? And I put engage to empower here because oftentimes we talk about engagement. And the reality is if our students are engaged in a lesson, they do become more empowered. And we want to be able to motivate our students, whether we are present with them or not. And these are some key things that I have used as a teacher that have really helped, and I would like to share them with you. It is very important that we develop a routine. Your students should know what your blended classroom is going to look like. So they are supposed to know what time they're expected to be on. They should know when they come on what is expected. If you're going to use breakout rooms, this is what happens when you go to the breakout room. You're supposed to have very clear guidelines as to what your online class is going to look like. So I'll give you one of my hints. When I'm teaching online, in order for me to know that all my students are present and engaged, I make sure to have a register right next to me. And when I call your name, you must respond either by unmuting your microphone or you must type in the chat. And even if it's a yes or no question, every student is called. And of course, they're not called in any particular order, so they never know when I'm going to call them. And I've told them, I said, if you don't respond, then you're not present. So I don't have issues with my students responding. And of course, you know, if there are issues, they would send me a message and say, Miss, I was trying to respond, but it still happened. So developing a routine is very important when we are doing blended learning. I also want to encourage you to explain, have a meeting with the parents. Your parents are now playing a more significant role in terms of teaching, especially when your students are in a virtual setting. Call a meeting and explain your strategy to parents. You're going to be using the rotation model. Tell them, listen, 10 students are going to be coming on at X time. 10 students are going to be doing this, and 10 students are going to be doing the next thing. Don't leave it to the child to explain what the classroom is about. That way, again, you're partnering with parents. Reinforce through consistency. If you know you're going to be doing a strategy, now remember it's going to be new. So it's going to take a little while to get them there, but once they get it, they are going to be successful. So you must be consistent. Don't start something today, then not do it tomorrow, and then maybe introduce it next week. If you are not consistent with the strategy, it is going to cause some fallout. So you really want to make sure that you are consistent. If you know you're going to post work at a particular time, that asynchronous work, make sure to post at that time so that the students and parents are aware, okay, this is the time that Miss or still post work. Monitor and give feedback. So it's always important, of course, not just to get data for you, but to then give feedback. Okay, I see class that you are having some difficulties understanding what a proper noun is. So we are going to do another form of learning with it. And of course, adjust as you need to. You are in the classroom. You are the person seeing what your class is. And so you can start off with one thing and then you might say, okay, I realize maybe I need to have 4 stations instead of 3 stations because I probably need to even have smaller groups. Or maybe I need to have my students in for 30 minutes versus the 20 minutes. So you can adjust as you need to based on when you start with your class, you would know what your students need. Use the data that you're getting to inform your decision. Do not just see the data and then be like, oh, well, I'm going to continue the syllabus. If your students are struggling with the proper and common noun, do not move on to the next topic. I know many of us are bogged down by the fact that we have an exam at the end of the period, but I am letting you know, sometimes when you're starting a new method in terms of teaching, and I know online teaching has been that way, sometimes it is best to start slow, get it right, and then believe me, you'll be able to speed up, as opposed to you're just kind of running, and your students getting left behind. And of course, for anybody that knows me, I always encourage gamifying your session. It could be online gamification, it could be offline gamification, and that just means adding elements of game-based play in your classroom. So points, leaderboards, chunking, leveling up, etc. And guess what? Pinnacle again has included a lot of that in how they've set up their platform. So of course, for those of you who already use Pinnacle, you would know that Pinnacle gives prizes and their leaderboards, and they announce it on their social media pages, the different winners, and of course, students love that. As a matter of fact, teachers love it too, and you get prizes too, which is great, right? So not just the students, but the teachers and schools do benefit from the gamified version of the platform. And a couple of the tips as we wrap up. How can I motivate my students who are not live with me? Make it more individualized. You see that thing about having small groups where they have different times where they could submit, or they can review a video several times without somebody knowing it. That is really important. Also, the fact that when they're on Pinnacle, they can work through a tutorial if they need to work it through 3 times, or maybe they can send you an email that's private. It's less pressure. And of course, they love playing with the computers, right? And the other benefit of Pinnacle would be that there is feedback, work examples, tutorials, and my favorite would be differentiation. I really want to put a plug for teachers to explore this. You do not need to assign all of your students the same work. You have 30 individuals, maybe 25 individuals in a classroom, and we need to be aware of that. It does not make sense assigning a student something in the standard 5 section when they need to go back to the standard 4 section. And more so, because of what took place in the last year, differentiation is going to be crucial if we are to get all of our children back on board. The reality is some of our children did miss school because of various reasons. You know, some of them did not have access to devices. So I really want to encourage teachers to use this rotation model, because differentiation becomes easier to do when you have the different groupings. And guess what? The students don't know. So they don't need to know. It's not like you're going to be telling them, well, group 1, you all are getting easier work to group 2, and group 2, you're getting easier work to group 3, right? So you as a teacher, you have that control and you know what you're doing, but as far as the students know, they are doing all the same work. And of course, to encourage our students to continue doing their work, Pinnacle continues to have challenges, continues to have competitions, and this is a new one coming up for September 2021. So please encourage your students, because your school can actually get 5 additional tablets, and we know that is something that's needed, plus upgraded broadband by Flow. And the students also get prizes. They get 3 months free Flow broadband. And I mean, we know that that is absolutely necessary during this period. So we want to encourage you to continue encouraging your students, and of course, insert the fact that it's a competition. You know, tell them you want your class to be the best, you want your school to be the best, and that little competition is another way to encourage them to do their work. So as we come to an end, because we do want to make sure to leave enough time for our question and answer segment, I just want to remind you, when we're talking blended learning, I was speaking specifically about the rotation station model, which is teacher-led, online, and offline. And this can be used in both the virtual space, as well as if we were to return to the face-to-face space. And you have several benefits, because you now have smaller groups that you're working with, so you can drill deeper. You can, you know, your students can't hide as much in a small group. You develop flexibility, you develop independent learners. You are able to get that data when they are online in Pinnacle, and you're able to use that real-time data. Your students are able to, you know, play with the computers. They're able to move at their own pace, and they're able, of course, to be assigned different work if it's needed, so that differentiation becomes a lot easier in a blended rotation station model. So how else can Pinnacle.com assist teachers in mastering the blend? Well, you can actually call Maya at 772-4199, and they will organize for you to do a website walkthrough. As well as if you have any issues, you can call them. And they also do virtual school tours and demonstration bookings with your class. So teachers, this is another plug to contact Pinnacle, and the sessions are always very interactive. I would have actually seen my own children. They would have experienced a virtual school tour with Maya. So it's something that you can also look forward to in September. More assistance coming your way. And here, the email address and website and phone numbers that you can find if you need for Pinnacle, if you need to contact Pinnacle. And here we're going to stop now for our Q&A segment. And I'm going to invite Maya and Chanel to assist me with the questions and answers, or any comments that they would have had during the session.
All right. So good night, everyone. I saw a few comments in the comment section here, so I'm just going to go through some of them for those who may have missed it along the way. All right, so one of them would be, all right, so for those of you where the student would have registered on their own individual account and not registered under the teacher's registration, what can happen, the teacher can basically take that student individual account and transfer it into their class. So for those of you where the student or the parent would have registered the student on the registration as a student on Pinnacle's login page, again, the teacher can just transfer them over. If you need any assistance, you can call either Maya or the Pinnacle's number, and we would be able to help with any issues you're having with respect to that. All right. For those who are asking, if you do not register with your Flow ID, if you do not have a Flow account, when you register under the individual account, register as a student, the parent or the parent who would have registered with that email attached to the student's account. So again, if you have registered your child under registering as a student on the login page, when you do that, you would be able to get a daily report of the student's performance. So whatever email you use to register that account with, there would be a daily report sent to that email address for those who don't have a Flow ID and are not able to access the parent portal. All right. Maya, do you have any questions?
We do have someone who mentioned that they are not getting the emails. I did take your information down, so I will check on that tomorrow, so don't worry about that. So if you're not getting the emails, if you've registered your child on Pinnacle as an individual student and you're not getting the daily report emails, just send me a message on WhatsApp, or you can call me and let me know, and I can check on that for you. Someone on Facebook asked if we send reports at the end of the term. So we just have the daily reports. Once you are registered, now I would say once we've registered your student as an individual and you happen to add them to the teacher's class, you would still be getting the daily report emails. So whether you've registered them as an individual and then the teacher added them to the class, you still get those daily report emails. If the teacher registered them first, when you first log in, you do get a form that you have to fill out, and within that form, there is a place for you to put your email address. And once you do that, then you start getting the daily report emails as well. I don't think we have anything else. No other questions really came in on
in addition to what you would have said, Maya, when the parents also access the parent portal, when they log in with their Flow IDs, they are also able to access the student progress dashboard and report cards, so that you can extend the time frame, so you can set your date ranges to see the performance within a specific period of time for that student as well.
I'm seeing a couple of questions in the Zoom chat, so we're just going to go through. So someone said that their daughter is registered as an individual and not part of the class, so they would like to know how they get that access to the report, and I'm assuming they go through the same Flow ID. So Chanel or Maya?
Once they're registered, the email address that it was registered under will receive the daily reports.
All right, I'm seeing another question. Someone's saying they can't remember their Flow ID. So you can contact Flow and they will be able to give you your Flow ID and you'll be able to access it afterwards. There's also a tutorial video on Pinnacle's site that will show you how to access the parent portal using your Flow ID. All right, someone is also asking, Ms. Leanne mentioned that teachers have access to Sda Practice Test answers. Does that include parents as well?
Leanne, can you repeat the question? Sorry.
So the Sda Practice Test, which I would have mentioned, that teachers alone would have answers only. The parent would like to know if that includes parents as well.
Okay, no, unfortunately it doesn't. We do have another practice test that are available in bookstores and super Superfarm and supermarkets nationwide, so you can check them out. They are available to parents as well as teachers, and they would have the questions and answers in those booklets. The ones that Ms. Leanne here would have mentioned throughout the demonstration here, throughout the webinar, that particular practice test that we are developing is specific to teachers only, and only teachers would have access to the answer sheets. All right.
So Penapool has two packages. We have one for teachers and one specific to parents, right? And the parent package will have answers. All right, so there's another question. How can I sign my new class on Atlantic Penapool? Is there a waiting period? So somebody's asking about the Atlantic platform.
So with the Atlantic platform, we are not currently adding new classes to Atlantic. So the regular site is still up. I would advise that you use the share exercise button that would have been mentioned in the presentation that gives you the link to copy and paste to whatever platform you use to communicate with the students.
Another question, is there any future plans for infant 1 and 2? And I do know that, I mean, thank you for that question, because I remember last year, teachers asked questions and Penapool rose to the challenge, and they now have standards 1 to 3, as well as they listened in terms of teachers being able to override. So Penapool, teachers are asking about infant 1 and 2. I'm also seeing it's still going to have a platform for secondary school students. So Penapool, I hope you all are listening. You know, there's a demand for not just infant 1 and 2, but also for secondary school students. I mean, I know, like the standard 5 SDA, I have seen Form 1 teachers use it as a way to introduce this, you know, get their students back on track for Form 1. So it's not that it can't be used, but Penapool, I hope you all are listening. There is a request for secondary school and first year and second year. All right, let me just go through and see if there are any more questions. I don't know if we missed any. Oh, somebody's asking, what about if my old class was on Atlantic and they moved on? Can the said teacher register her new class?
The classes that are on Atlantic, they're still on Penapool. So once you go to whole class registration, all you have to do is promote the class to the new teacher. So everything that is on Atlantic is there on the Penapool site as well.
Other question, are there standard 1 Penapool workbooks?
Yes, we have the Penapool, the standard 1 workbooks available in bookstores.
Yes, so we have workbooks that we actually release standards 1 to 5. So again, they can be accessed within the bookstores as well as Superfarm and supermarkets.
So we have a couple of questions coming in.
I see here we had, sorry, Leanna. I see here we had a question about what if someone forgets their password. If you forgot password or you don't remember any of your login details, you can always contact us at Penapool and we will to help you sort out that information. We have to review those internally, all right?
And just to add on to that, if you are a teacher and you forgot your password, you can actually reset it on your end by using the forgot password button. Students that are registered would have to call us, but for teachers, you can reset it on your own.
Someone wants to know how they can access the new Sda Practice Test.
All right, so the Sda Practice Test, those are available. The Sda Practice Test that are available for parents and teachers, they are available at bookstores, Superfarm, and supermarkets nationwide. The new edition that Ms. Leanne would have mentioned in this webinar, the Teachers Edition, that's something, a new feature that we're having. So the details of that would be released as it is accessible within the bookstores and Superfarm outlets. So just wait for us to release the news and you'll be updated accordingly.
And someone would like to know a little more about how the point system works for prizes.
Now that'll be very long explanation, because we do have different point systems for the different subjects. In particular, math and English follow a different point system to science and VCCE. All of the rules are on the site under the scoreboard. So if you want to find out how you win certain prizes, how you get the points, I would advise for you to log on to Fenapool, go to the subject area that you're looking to win a prize for, go to the scoreboard. The rules will be on the scoreboard page.
All right. So, Ishani, you can type your question in the chat. Thank you for the feedback, Yulin, and of course, Fenapool does. Please do send feedback. If you see something on the site, you know that if there's an error or something that you think you can send feedback. So I know Maya and Chanel are taking the feedback. And oh, right. How do you win the prize of today's webinar? So you can, we're going to place those links now in the chat. Please make sure if you are registered for fenapool.com, go ahead and just fill out the form, the feedback form, and that's it. So we're putting it both on Facebook as well as online. Somebody is asking, is there an option of purchasing an online copy of the workbook?
Not at the moment.
So not at the moment, but the workbooks are available across the country, right? Nationwide, you can find them. So, and of course, Fenapool is free. So you do have the option of being online and using it for free. And Fenapool, I'm going to put a plug here for secondary school teachers because, you know, I'm a secondary school teacher. So, you know, start working on your Form 1 to 5 platform. So I do think, thank you very much for the feedback. And I do hope that the session was useful and that you have, you know, you've been able to take one thing to be able to go back into your classes in September and feel that you are now empowered and you can now do blended learning, understanding why it is beneficial and how you can use it in your classroom and leverage fenapool.com to make your lives a little easier and our students' lives a lot better in September. So,
all right, I just want to add before we close, everyone, don't forget to win the prizes. We have 5 Master Store vouchers. You need to be registered on fenapool.com and you have to fill out the feedback form that would have been attached to the Facebook comments and the Zoom comment section. So just fill out the form and register and we would select 5 lucky winners. All right.
Someone is asking if they're a private teacher, if they can enter as well, if they're attached to a private school.
I don't see why not. I don't see why not. Yes.
Once you're a teacher. Once you're a teacher, you can enter. So thank you very much to everyone. Ishani I asked the question. I'm not sure what the question was.
Okay, so I saw the question, your daughter won the prize but didn't receive it. Any issues, you can always call us at Fenapool and we'll sort it out. Sometimes there can be delays in the delivery system. So just call us, give us a call and let us know and we try to sort it out.
And I'm gonna put back up those numbers and the email. So Shani, you can take notes of the phone numbers there and you can give them a call. All right, so somebody is saying they can't open the link. So Chanel, you want to check and make sure it can be open. They will put it back in the chat, but I do believe that we have answered all your questions and I want to take this time to really say thank you for spending the hour with me and with Fenapool, and thank you to Flo for continuing to support education. So they will replace the link again in the both chats, the Zoom and the and make sure to please click it. They're going to check it now and open it for you. All right.
If the link is not accessible in the chat, it will be posted on our Facebook page as well as our Instagram. All right.
Yes, and I will also post it on my page as well. Okay. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and let's go forward and have a wonderful September. And of course, continue looking out for 21st Century Educators. We are always here to support you, and fenapool.com. Check out their Facebook page and you can subscribe so you can get emails as well for their updates. So thank you very much. And thank you once again to Flo for supporting education. And thank you very much for the feedback. It's my pleasure. I will see you all next time. Bye-bye, everybody.